Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to the Court of the EDI Jester. How are we, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, etc., etc., etc. Buy me a coffee, damn it. It's the end of the month. Ooh, gotta keep going, gotta keep going. I'm totally defunded on everything now. There you go. Okay, sometimes I come across stuff that's so damn good I can't help but get excited about the fact that I'm going to share it with you. This is one of those times, and it comes from somebody called Rebecca Veo, who I will put the links to her Substack in the doobers as usual. Please do go and subscribe. This is so good. This is so good. It's painful. It's painful, right? And it's from a blog called Wrong Speak Publishing. Think about that. Wrong Speak. George Orwell, of course. Yes, Orwell, with his wrong speak. Wokeism. The hammer paving the way for the sickle. Brilliant. Brilliant. I'd like to thank you for listening. No, that's not kidding. Right. Some say pedophilia is the end goal of the new political left. Racial division, climate lockdowns, or even the elimination of the sexes and nuclear family are often cited as progressive goals as well. But I think we are confusing the means with the ends. Yes, yes. When we take a moment and look at the woke movement holistically from a 100,000 foot perspective, we can see the end goal is much more simplistic. The end goal is tyranny. Adherents to so-called progressive ideology seem to be pulling directly from the communist playbook used by Soviets in the former USSR and Maoists in China. No one willingly accepts communism. It must be forcefully pushed onto society. And so communists must be devious in their tactics to trick the populace into accepting an oppressive ideology. On paper, communism and its socialist derivatives appear as a righteous theory, with a goal of universal equality for all. However, in practice, the only equality it creates is in poverty and misery. Although communism has been tried many times by civilizations just as great as ours, it has failed every single time. Despite this, many remain devoted to a dead and failed ideology. Those who pledge allegiance to it insist real communism has never been tried. The Russians, the Chinese, the East Germans, the Cubans, and many others simply did not implement it properly. Despite these societies being known for their high intellect and great empires, they couldn't figure out communism. But in the Western progressives' belief, they somehow will be the ones to master it. The Western progressives believe they will be the ones to master it. It's not real communism. When the Russians and Chinese began their march towards tyranny, they first had to destroy their current society. In Maoist China, they utilised the young, brainwashing them into communist ideology. They convinced the youth that communism would provide prosperity, equality, and ultimately utopia. They attempted to blur the lines between men and women, destroy family ties, and force everyone into their belief system, no matter how ridiculous it seemed. To criticise the new ideology was blasphemy and dangerous. Families were destroyed as they turned on each other. Love of family soon became love of state and ideology. Don't do it to me. Do it to her. Pure Orwell, isn't it? Pure Orwell, folks. That's what we've got. In a famous case from Soviet Russia, a man by the name of Tomfril Lysenko dreamed up a new way of cultivating agriculture. His bizarre new proposal for reimagining the way farmers planted crops failed spectacularly, and millions perished in starvation. The term Lysenkoism stems from this man. He is a reminder of how all-consuming communist ideology is. Even basic facts and science must take second place to ideology, no matter what the cost. Unfortunately, we are seeing a modern form of Lysenkoism and an attempt at a Western-style cultural revolution occurring not just in the United States, but throughout the West. As happened in Soviet Russia and Maoist China, society needed to be completely destroyed before it could be rebuilt in the communist image. In the West, we are seeing extremely high prices of almost all goods and services, out of control illegal immigration, captured government institutions, disregarding the rule of law in favour of leftist ideology, a total denial of science and reality, a dismissal of the distinction between the sexes, and maybe most importantly, a desire to brainwash as many young children as possible. Some medical institutions say the nebulous concept of gender identity is more important than biological reality. Educators state that requiring students to correctly answer maths equations is racist. Government officials encourage the administration to reject the rule of law and to implement their own policies even if rules are unconstitutional. Members of the elite media call the Constitution trash and encourage lawmakers to find ways to easily and frequently amend it to suit their desires. All of this comes directly from the Communist Playbook and other famous leftist works of literature. Anyone who sees this and pushes back is immediately labelled a Nazi, extremist, terrorist, or fascist. I would add into that TERF, me personally, there you go. These two are suggestions from communist ideology. If you are against the New World Order, then you must be a fascist. There's your anti-racism versus racism. You either are anti-racist or you're a racist. Pure fascistic behaviours there, but in service to the possibility of a communist utopia, the type of thing that we see so many ideologically following blindly like mad sheep. It is important for all of us to understand that the so-called diversity, equity and inclusion agenda is not about uplifting disadvantaged people who've been historically marginalised. It is the opposite, actually. Wokeism is the hammer meant to destroy society, paving the way for the sickle to rebuild in the Marxist fashion. There are no transgender, LGBT pride parades or identity politics in communist or even former communist countries. In fact, many of these countries are actively passing laws and forcibly preventing it from entering. They know wokeism is not a long-term strategy. There is no long-term goal for diversity or inclusion. The end goal is collectivity and the total submission to the state. In other words, the complete opposite of what progressives portray. So we must not be blinded by flowery terms like empathy and kindness, or confused about the means that are being used to justify the ends. The end goal is not a diverse, happy, equitable society, but a conformist, radically depressed society where everyone is part of a collective rather than an individual. Rather than the squeaky wheel getting the oil, the nail that stands out will be pounded down. That's so good. When we worship the state, not our God, and where we toss aside our cultural traditions and personal beliefs for those of our overlords in charge. As the woke mind virus invades even more institutions and young minds, we must remain vigilant. If history has taught us anything, once we begin the long slide towards tyranny, it ends in a very dark place that may be impossible to get out of. It's a brilliantly written piece by Rebecca Veo. Thank you very much for that, Rebecca. Please do go and follow the link in the description. Go and have a look at Rebecca's work. You won't agree with all of it, but what the hell? It's like somebody said to me the other day, you could agree with a tweet, but you don't have to agree with a thread. Why people don't get that, I don't know. You're adjacent to a Nazi! It's a brilliant piece. Wake up and smell the coffee. We've even got people that were victims of Mao who are speaking out and going, what the hell's going on? Why are you people going down this road? We need to deal with the left, which is what it is. Don't go, it's the right, it's the left. We need to deal with the left because Labour isn't going to. Labour isn't going to deal with it at all. We're getting closer now to an election next year. Labour isn't going to deal with it at all. This is where we're headed. People are going to die. That's the dark place at the end there. That's the dark place. Okay? I know it's depressing, but what the hell? Jester out.